What's up, people? So I want to give you a quick demonstration of the actions you're going to take when you first set up the breadcrumbs box from DIY Themes. All right, so for the purpose of this demonstration, I've just installed the breadcrumbs box and I'm ready to go ahead and configure it. Okay, and so I want to walk you through the stuff you need to think about as you're configuring and setting up the options and implementing your breadcrumbs box. So let me pull up the documentation page. Here we go. Back up the URL here. Okay, so here's the breadcrumbs box documentation page. And this thing says the first thing you want to do, and we can access this actually from the interface, so you can just click on this right here. This will take you to the documentation page. I could have just done that. But the first thing you want to do is set up options and then actually incorporate a breadcrumb trail into your templates, okay? So first thing I want to do before we look at the settings is I want to actually look at your website and talk about it real quick to see how you might want to implement breadcrumbs. So right now with WordPress, there's two ways you can run your site. You can have your homepage be a blog style homepage, which is what we see here. This is just a default, if you haven't touched anything, this is how your WordPress runs right here. Okay, so this is a blog style homepage. And if you have a blog style homepage, you're probably only going to want to incorporate breadcrumbs on, we'll say 3 of your default templates, okay? And for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm using the Focus skin for Thesis. If you're using a different skin, what you're going to want to do is going to be a little bit different, but the general approach that I show you here is going to be the same. So let's take a look at what we are going to do. So again, this is a vanilla WordPress installation running with a blog style homepage. And so we are going to step in and add a breadcrumbs trail using the editor, the skin editor. So to do that, we, anywhere in the Thesis admin, any page of it, you can go to the skin menu and then to editor. And then actually I like to open that up in a new tab. Okay, so here's the editor. All right. Now with Focus, we probably don't want a breadcrumb trail on our homepage. It doesn't make any sense. Obviously, this is the first page of the website, and this is where you want to display your most important links in a navigation menu, and ideally your most important content or your most relevant content, boom, right here, first at the top. So with a vanilla WordPress install, we would not want to add a breadcrumb trail to the homepage, but we would want to add it to a single post page. So like, here's a single post page right here. So this is an interior page, so we'd want it here. We'd probably want it on a page, such as the About page. And then, to get people back to the home page or to figure out how they got to wherever they are, and probably on archive pages. So like here is an archive for the asides category on this website. And here's another one, the design category. Okay. Might want a breadcrumb trail on these types of pages as well. So in the skin editor, we're going to click on the template button and go down to single. So these are the core templates, these 4 you see here, home, single, page, and archive. I think you're really probably going to want to add a breadcrumb trail to single, page, and archive. That's the main thing you're going to want to do. So we'll just do that now. I'll show you how it works. So on single, with Focus, it's different with, if you're using a different skin, what you see here is going to be a little different. Where you're going to want to add this box is going to be a little different. But with Focus, you're probably going to want to use the navigation menu section. And so you just expand that, and then it will show you this is the actual nav menu box that's inside it. So I like to add the breadcrumbs box, and I'm going to add it above the nav menu for now, and I'll show you why. We'll circle back around to that. So I'm going to leave the nav menu box where it is. I held shift, I clicked and dragged, and I released up here in this part that turned yellow, just boom, and I released the box there, and that's where it is. I want to make sure and save this template, and then we're going to pull up the page template and then the archive template and do the exact same thing to both of those. So we'll do it here, select our breadcrumbs box, we'll add it, we'll hold shift and drag it, save it, easy peasy. We'll do it one more time, archive template, add our breadcrumbs box, and there it is. So we've added our basic breadcrumbs box to each of those 3 templates where I think it's going to be most applicable. And now I want to hop back over here really quickly. We're going to go to the breadcrumbs box settings page. And I have modified my home breadcrumbs text. It's going to be the title of your website. And so by default it will be. And so the title of this one is Focus Test Site. I don't want my breadcrumb trail showing Focus Test Site and then whatever the name of whatever page it's on. That's too verbose. I just want to say home. So if you want to override your site title, you just type whatever you want in here. I typed home. And then you've got, you can have a custom home breadcrumb link in the URL. You probably don't want to do this. Probably not going to mess with this. This is applicable for some sites that are set up a little strangely. Probably not applicable for you, but it's there if you need it. And then this one is a new option I've just released in an updated version of the breadcrumbs box, but it's to include a category in the breadcrumb trails for posts. Categories only apply to posts. They don't apply to the pages of your WordPress website. Some people really use categories smartly to organize their information. Those are the types of people for whom this is going to be a reasonable option. But most people don't use categories very well. Gotta give a word of caution here. Okay, most people use categories in just a very fire hose sort of way. They might assign a single post to 6 different categories, and that is going to completely screw up your breadcrumb trails. And if you've treated your categories like this, like adding 5 or 6 to a particular post, you're not going to want to do this because your categories are a mess. You really need to only have 1 category per post. And I can go into the nuance of that later, but I'll show you how that ends up working. So for now, we're going to leave this deselected. Okay, and I'll show you how it works in a little bit. So for now, all I did was change the option to say home for the home trail or home breadcrumb. So we'll save it, and now we will go visit a template and refresh it that now has a breadcrumb trail. Okay, so here's our trail. This is very simple. Our WordPress website is running in just its default blog mode. So the home page is effectively the blog homepage. This article was accessible directly from that, so the breadcrumb trail is very short. Just a quick note, this is an awfully long thing for a breadcrumb, a title for a breadcrumb. It's too big. But by default, the title of the crumb is just whatever the title of the post is. The breadcrumbs box includes a little bit of functionality you can use to change this, and I'll show you how you do that. You're just going to click on the edit link here for a particular post, or go in whatever your preferred approach is to edit a post. We're going to go edit this one, and then you will notice a meta box directly beneath the area where you enter your content, and that is for the breadcrumb text. So we're just going to say excerpt test because that's relevant here. We're going to update it. Look at our page here, and now the breadcrumb trail is tight and tidy, and there it is. That's how you can modify the terminal breadcrumb text for any post or page of your WordPress website. Okay, now the next thing that we want to look at, so we'll check out that's a post. Let's look at a page. Thought I opened all these, but I guess I closed them. So here's a page. Here's the about page. Same deal. That's pretty basic. And then here is a category. Boom. Okay. So this is the archive template, this is the page template, and this is the single template. These are the 3 templates that we modified and added breadcrumb trails to. Okay, so now let's explore what happens, what this whole thing looks like if you are running your WordPress website with a static homepage. So I'll go into the options here and do that. We'll go into WordPress settings. We're going to go into reading, and then we will select a page to serve as our home page and a page to serve as our post page called blog. And we're going to save our changes. Now, let's look. So if we now go to our home page, it's now not a blog page because we're running this static front page. And we'll go to our blog page, which is now like our old homepage was. But now, when we're on this page, there's no indication that we are no longer on the homepage. It basically looks like the homepage. So what we would want to do if we're running our site with a static front page, we want to take one extra step. So we're going to go into the Thesis Skin Editor again. We're going to visit the home template, which you can think of as being synonymous with your blog template. This home template is different than your front page template. I realize that vernacular is confusing. You can thank WordPress for that. They gave us this whole landscape of confusing terms many, many years ago, and we have just all been adapting ever since. So anyway, we want to do the same thing to the home template now because we're running a static front page. We want to do the same thing we did to the other templates. So we will add the breadcrumbs box to it. And then I'll visit my blog page again, hold shift, click refresh, and now we have a breadcrumb trail that more accurately indicates the path that has been taken to get to this page. That's great. Now let's look at how the crumbs of our other pages might have changed. So this is now a post, a single post on my site. It used to just be home and then excerpt test, but now because we are running a static front page and we have this extra interstitial, interior blog page, now the breadcrumb trail is a little beefier to more accurately describe the route a visitor would take to get to it. This is a more accurate breadcrumb trail. Okay, and now let's check the page one. This one should be unchanged. It is. And now this one, because categories are specifically related to posts on your WordPress website and not pages. So categories are a post-specific function. So when I refresh this page, boom, we now have the blog link to signify that this is somehow accessible from within the blog. This is actually an archive, but these archives only, exist for posts. So they are relevant to the blog. So that's why this breadcrumb trail is what it is. So this was automatically done. The breadcrumbs box detects how you're running your WordPress website, whether you have a static front page or not. And then if you do have a static front page, it adds this blog crumb as a convenience to more accurately reflect the way your site's navigation works. Okay. I want to give you a tip, I guess, for using this box that I like to do. So on any page where I have a breadcrumbs trail, I don't like to include navigation. Okay, you can if you want, that's fine. It's totally fine. It's up to you. But I prefer to get rid of the navigation because links like this are options for the visitors who come to your website. And you might think, oh, options are great. Actually, options are kryptonite for people who are not super invested in an outcome. It's a lot for them to process. They have to think about this, and this. And is this where I want to go next? Is this the type of decision I want to make right now? It's too much. It is too much. Your job with every web page is to just get right to the point and to guide your visitors through either just giving them content or asking them to make the simplest decisions possible. Giving somebody a large list of things to choose from for navigation is not simple. But a breadcrumb trail is a linear pathway. It doesn't ask the user to think about anything. It just gives them a quick out. They understand what it is. It's easy. So to reduce cognitive load on pages that also have breadcrumbs, I'm going to recommend removing the navigation menu from those pages. So the way you do this for these pages in particular is we go right back into the skin editor, and I'm actually going to shift and drag up here to the gray area, not down to the red one that deletes it. Don't do this, only to the top one. We're just going to take it out of this template. We're not going to remove it. We're just going to take it out of this template and save it. And we're going to do the same thing now for the single, the page, and the archive templates. Couldn't be, oops, that was the wrong box. Could not be simpler what we are doing here though. And so we'll remove the focus nav menu once again. And one more time for the people in the back. There it is. Okay, now let's look at our templates. Now, I realize you may not think the spacing above and below the breadcrumbs trail is adequate. That is a separate issue. We address that after you get everything working the way you want. This is an easy fix. You can hop in the forums. I can assist you with that, no problem. But bottom line is now these pages are much more clear. And if we navigate around on the site a little bit, I'll show you how the whole thing is now simpler. So if we go back to the home, now we have our full nav menu. We can go to the blog. We can go to this page. And here, this is a goofy breadcrumb trail that I created for this particular page. But we can see now it's a very straightforward pathway to get to everything. The navigation is super simple. It's asking nothing of the user. It's just giving them a very basic situation for them to parse. And what's great about this is going to keep people on your pages. It's going to keep them engaged in your content, as engaged as they can possibly be, because you're not presenting them with decisions to make before they even reach your content, which is the whole reason why they're on a page of your website in the first place. Okay, one last thing Now that we've seen how this works, now that we've seen how I like to set it up, let's explore this very last option here about, we can get to the settings page this way, about including a category in your post breadcrumb trails. So we will do that now. So we'll save it, we got it. So let's see what happens on this one. This post is in the design category, so now the design archive has been added to that particular breadcrumb trail. Now this may not accurately reflect the path everybody takes on your website to get to a certain thing, but some of you out there have used your categories really wisely and have these really rich information pages, and by presenting your breadcrumb trail in this manner, you can give people an opportunity to explore some of these, I call them resource pages, I guess, that you have put together or that you have organized your site in such a way that these things are useful, okay? And so I would advise not to include this in your breadcrumb trails unless you know that your category pages are just freaking awesome and totally relevant to the way people navigate around your website. The issue with this, and the reason why the breadcrumbs box did not have categories in the past, and you may have encountered this if you've ever done used a plugin for breadcrumbs or something else or another theme or whatever, you may have seen that if a post is assigned to 2 or 3 or 4 categories, they'll put every dang one of these in the breadcrumb trail, and so then this section of the trail that references the categories is no longer linear. It's like giving people, forks in the road, saying, hey, you can go to the design, you can go to websites, you can go to samples, whatever goofy category names I've got and have, applied to this post. That stuff, that breaks down the usefulness of an information pathway. It breaks down the pathway, the linear aspect of it, and then it also makes it less useful by providing or presenting options that increase the complexity of the whole thing, okay? So remember, the point of your breadcrumbs trail is not some crazy SEO thing or some fancy interlinking strategy for your site. It is to provide a clear navigation pathway that specifically reduces the options you are giving visitors on a particular page. You are literally trying to reduce options so they focus on your content and take action, whether that action is leaving you a comment, signing up for an email list, buying a product, taking some action that benefits you or them, some completion, like complete this task. Don't get lost in goofy options trying to understand how I've decided to organize my website. That isn't very useful, and I think if you think through that, you will come to the same conclusion. Now, so like I said, if you have multiple categories assigned to a post, the breadcrumbs box is just going to pick out the first one, and present it in your breadcrumb trail. The only exception to that rule is if you have hierarchically nested categories. These can be useful. And so I have an example of that on this website, this little test site. Here is an example of a post that is assigned to 3 different categories: the design category, the websites category, and the text category. But these are all hierarchically nested. This is the top level, second level, third level, and because the only categories that I've selected here are all, actually, it doesn't even matter. If you select one that's a terminal node, okay, so I could just as easily do design and websites. And let's see if that actually works the same. It may not. I think I know why. Yeah, it doesn't. So if you have hierarchically nested categories, you only want to assign this post to the topmost level that applies. So in this case, text is the most hierarchically nested one, so that's the one you want to choose. So we'll say update, we'll do this, and then we get the full trail, if that's what you want. If you want a smaller trail, we'll then only apply this to the design category, but presumably you would have had this huge hierarchical arrangement for very specific information purposes, and to get your trails to work right, like I said, you need to only categorize your post with the one that's farthest down the hierarchy. Okay, I know that's a bit confusing, but this is informationally confusing. So anyway, that was a whole lot of explainer to try and introduce you to this new category feature that I've just put out with the breadcrumbs box. Okay, but now you know how it works. Now you know exactly how I recommend implementing this stuff. And you should have enough, enough here to get yourself going and get this implemented the way you want. All right. If you got any questions about this stuff at all, you can hit me up in the comments below the video here, or you can pop over to the DIY Themes forums, where myself and many other people who know what's going on with this stuff will be able to put some eyeballs on this thing for you and help you through whatever you need. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.